Focus On. I'm your host, Devin Miller, and today I'm here with Guy Solomon.
Hi, Kevin. Devin. I'm sorry.
Nice. Guy does voiceovers for commercials and stuff like that. And first off, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
I'd be happy to. Actually, I'm originally from Ohio. I graduated from Kent State University back in the dark ages. No, I was not there at 1970 when all that happened. I was down the road at another university, Youngstown State University. Primarily, I was a major in radio and television broadcast, and eventually changed that and went into college and university public relations and marketing. And I just retired from SC4 here about 4 years ago. I was a director of marketing there.
Okay. Did you originally plan to become a voiceover actor?
No, not really. Actually, what I was trained to do and what I thought I was going to be doing was going to be another Walter Cronkite. I was a newsman originally. Everybody starts off as a disc jockey, and then you find your other niches, perhaps. But I was a newsman for quite a number of years in various stations in Ohio, and I thought, you know, I was going to be really top-notch. And then they started with the Pretty Boys on newscasts, and not a whole lot of guys without hair didn't do very well. You could have a great voice, but if you didn't have hair and you know, were kind of attractive, which left me out on both counts. So I was pretty much relegated to doing a lot of radio news, although I did do a lot of TV as well.
What was the first commercial or voiceover job you've done?
Gee, first voiceover, golly, back in Youngstown, Ohio, I did a stand-up for a water conditioner. I remember it vividly. and I remember I had to wear a lab coat. I looked like, you know, I was a professor and everything. They had me in this white lab coat. And I remember my opening line was, "Know what's wrong with this water conditioner?" And then I always used to say, "Yeah, it doesn't work, man."
Tell me some of the local companies that you've done work for in the Portage area.
Well, I've done work for Impact Communications here in town. I've worked with Camelot Studios. Those are the two major. Tuttle Vision upon occasion as well. So those are the three production companies here in town with whom I've worked. And also I do a lot of commercials. My company, which is Soho Marketing, specializes in advertising, and we do a lot of commercials that you'll see on Comcast, and sometimes you may recognize my voice doing the voiceover during those commercials.
What is the hardest part of doing voiceovers?
Well, I think it's trying to figure out exactly what the client wants. You know, sometimes you have to be really upbeat, and sometimes very slow and deliberate, depending on what the client wants, what the copy is like. I do a lot of voiceovers on one of the local radio stations, WGRT. They have a stable of talent, and they call it. And they probably have like 10, 12 people who do voiceovers for them, both men and women, which is really neat because it gives them a nice variation. Because WGRT is a satellite. That means they don't have any real staff, and that's why they hire people like myself to do the voiceovers for the commercials.
Have you had a chance to work with some celebrities, and can you name a few of them? Tell me what they were like.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. When I graduated from college, I was a little older than the average bear back then. I was 23 and a half years old, and the Army had been after me, and the draft was still in force back in those days, and I think it was 2 months after I graduated from college I got drafted. Well, my major being radio and TV, I was one of those lucky ones. They actually put me in a field that pertained to my major, and I ended up getting shipped to San Juan, Puerto Rico, 18 months, and I worked in Armed Forces Radio. And basically I was a disc jockey at that point. But the nice thing about being in San Juan is that there were two major hotels that would bring in new acts every week. And on Friday night, they would have a cocktail party introducing their act, and we from Armed Forces Radio would lug our big old Ampex tape recorder down there and sit and do interviews with people like Nat King Cole, Ray Bolger, the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz, Steve Lawrence and Eddie Gourmet, Gordon and Sheila McRae. Some of these names probably don't mean a whole lot to you, but we met all, and Gypsy Rose Lee. How could I leave out Gypsy Rose Lee? The older folks in the audience will know who Gypsy is. She was quite a character. Pardon me. Gypsy Rose Lee was the queen of the strippers. And she was something else, I can tell you that. So we were really lucky to meet all these people, and it was very neat. It was a lot of fun. It didn't seem like work. And then we got to go to the shows for free, which was also nice.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Do people you talk to recognize your voice from the commercials, and when you meet them for the first time, like, what is their initial reaction when you tell them you do voiceovers?
Yeah, I was just saying the other day, a friend of mine, we were working out, and he came in and he said, "Is that your voice I hear doing that commercial on one of the local radio stations?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, how long have you been doing that?" And I said, "Well, let's see, I've lived here 10 years. I guess I've been doing them for 10 years. And he said he was kind of surprised. And when I talk to people on the telephone, or they hear me on the air and they don't see me, and I actually prefer doing voiceovers where I am not on camera, quite honestly. It's a lot easier. So it's kind of funny because, you know, when you have a decent voice and it's deep, and people think, whoa, this guy probably is like 6 feet tall, 6'2", good looking. Well, I used to kid them all. If they didn't know who I was, I'd say, I look a lot like Tom Selleck. And then I'd have to admit I look more like Jacques Cousteau.
What is the favorite commercial that any of you have done?
Several years back, I did a commercial with a young lady named Jo Jean. Gosh, I can't think of Jo Jean's last name. She did great voiceovers. And we were at WGRT, and I've forgotten what the product even was. But I was a dog. Well, we were both dogs, as a matter of fact. And we won some sort of a statewide award for the daggone thing. And it was a lot of fun. It was Jo Jean Zimmer was her name. And it was great. She just had this great voice where she could do anything, you know. She could be really smooth and silky, or she could be like a little girl. But yeah, we won an award, and I always thought that was kind of cool.
What's it like to hear your own voice on the radio?
Very disturbing. I hate it. I just absolutely hate it. Sometimes I don't recognize my own voice, and it's just I don't think anybody who is really truly who does voiceovers really likes to hear themselves. I really don't think so, because I think you have to be a real egotist. Are you familiar with the Schmuckers, a brand of jellies and jams and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. That guy who does that, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, but if you saw the old television show that, oh gosh, what was his name? Ed Asner had, where he was a newspaper man. His boss was this guy. This guy has done voiceovers for years for Smuckers. Nobody can imitate this guy's voice. It's beautiful. With a name like Smuckers, it's gotta be good. And he's one of the top voiceover talents. There was a guy named Scorby, Alexander Scorby, and this other guy, who were the two top voiceover talents in the entire United States. And Scorby did a lot of the books, and especially the Bible. And he did all the readings from the Bible and that are on tape nowadays. And these guys, I mean, they're good. These guys are good. And I will tell you quite honestly, there's a tremendous living to be made, if you're national, from doing voiceovers. Look at your movies like The Lion King and some of these others, the animated cartoons, and look who's doing voiceovers. A lot of these are well-known actors, and they fit beautifully into these parts.
Yeah. I understand you're also the public relations director for Soho Marketing, and can you tell us a little about that and the direction the company's heading in?
Well, I'm not exactly public relations. I happen to be married to the president.
Oh.
Yeah. My wife is the president, therefore it's a minority-owned business. Soho Marketing really handles advertising and public relations. We do publications. We have a small client list, and what we do is we place them on radio or on television, working through Comcast primarily. We do publications, Port Huron Hospital. We do their quarterly newsletter. My partner is a graphic artist, so he and I complement each other nicely because I have the experience. Well, I worked in colleges and universities in public relations for years, so I can do the writing of publications, and we do the photography, we do everything. And we're just a small outfit, and we just kind of enjoy it. I'm retired. He's got all the great equipment, so I don't have to buy anything. And it's kind of neat when you don't have to spend any money to buy equipment to set yourself up in what is basically a leisure time activity. I'm probably the worst salesperson in the entire world, to tell you the truth.
How much longer do you plan on doing voiceovers, this kind of work, and do you have any other career goals?
Well, until the pipes give out, I guess I'll do voiceovers as long as I can. What I want to do when I grow up? I don't know. I don't know. Be on 60 Minutes, be a reporter on 60 Minutes. I don't know, be a big movie star? I don't think so. I think I'm a little past all that. As a matter of fact, I got to add something here for you. Back when I started in radio and TV, because they didn't want any ethnicity attached to your name, so they had a lot of guys named Smith and Jones and everything like that. And my name was Guy Wallace as a newsman, as a disc jockey. And there was some young guy named Mike Wallace, who was on another network, Mutual Radio Network, and I always wondered what happened to Mike Wallace. That's a joke. You know who Mike Wallace is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Wallace is like 80 years old. And yeah. One of the reasons I got out of radio and TV news is I was never going to be a Mike Wallace or a Walter Cronkite. And, that's okay.
Thanks, Guy, for joining us.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's it for Focus On Tonight. Everybody have a good night.